Welcome to the Ed Newsstand Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Reynolds. This is Season 4, Episode 15 of the podcast. This week, I revisit the Lumio online platform from Smart Learning. The resources I talk about in this episode will show some new features to Lumio in the past year, provide you with 5 benefits of using Lumio in class, and briefly demonstrate how Lumio works and where to find the teacher guide to make using the platform that much easier. We've got a lot to get to, so let's not waste any more time. Let's dive in. The redesign is just, I'm hoping for 1 week here, but there's so much to get to with regard to Lumio. I had to kind of redesign. So we've done away with TikTok Tech this week and Tech Refresh, just so I can focus mainly on Lumio itself and not have the podcast get too long. Now, I have gone over Smart Notebook and Lumio in 6 different podcasts, and I'm going to go through those newsletters very quickly as a refresh. And if you want to check those out, you can certainly listen to the audio version of the podcast on my podcast channel, anchor.fm/ednewsstand, or you can check out the old newsletters on my website, ednewsstand.weebly.com, and then just click on the link newsletters at the top. Let's look at some old newsletters just to give you a little refresher of some of the topics that I have gone over. This is the first newsletter that I created on November 19th, 2018. The audio version of the podcast came out on November 26th. It was all about Smart Lab, building game-based activities to engage your students. There are 12 different activities built into Smart Notebook and into Lumio. You create the activity based on whatever subject you're teaching. The students go to hellosmart.com, join your class, and you can push out that activity to your students, whether you're using Smart Notebook or you have built this activity in and on the Lumio website. So you have activities like label reveal, shout it out, fill in the blanks, match them up. But if you aren't using Smart Lab, I definitely encourage you to check out the different game-based activities they have, because it is amazing and it will really help engage your students. The next newsletter I came out with was published on January 21st of 2019. The audio podcast came out on the 25th of January in 2019, and it was about the Smart Notebook app and Mastro. Now, I don't believe the Smart Notebook app is available anymore, and Mastro used to be a way for you to control your smartboard from your iPad. However, with Lumio, I don't know that that's really something that you need to really do anymore. You can run Lumio from your iPad or your Chromebook or your laptop or your desktop, whatever you need to do. And so I wouldn't necessarily think that you would need Mastro, but if you definitely want to try Mastro, you certainly can. If you want to try to use the Smart Notebook app for your iPad, you can certainly do that too. At the time when it came out, it was a paid app, and last I checked, it was free. The third newsletter that I came out with was all about Smart Notebook Online, and at the time it wasn't called Lumio, it was called Smart Online Learning Suite. That came out on February 4th, 2019, and then the podcast on February 10th, 2019. That was an audio podcast. If you want to go back and review that, you can certainly listen to that, or again, find this newsletter. You can watch this little video tutorial, check out all the different dynamic elements that are available for Smart Online Learning Suite and Lumio, because there are a ton of them. But if you want to review this, again, this was in Season 2 on February 4th, 2019. The fourth newsletter that I talked about was Smart Exchange. So if you are looking for pre-made lessons that you want to download for Smart Notebook, check out the Smart Exchange site. So this was published in Season 3 on November 15th, 2019. Smart Exchange is a website hosted by Smart Technologies that houses free classroom resources. That's right, free resources created by Smart and other educators who have published their lessons to the site that you can download absolutely free and use immediately. The next week, I published a newsletter called the 12 Days of Smart, and this one was designed so that each day you could add one instructional activity to your lesson to challenge your familiarity with Smart. This doesn't have to be something that comes out on November 22nd. I definitely encourage you to check this one out, because if you are new to Smart or you still only use some of the basic versions, this one will really help you just sprinkle in little by little some of the tools that are available for Smart. The last newsletter that I published came out in my Season 4 newsletters. It came out February 12th, 2021, and it was all about Smart Online Learning Suite. There is a video for this and an audio podcast. I definitely recommend watching the video version because you can see how Smart Online Learning Suite works. I'm not going to do a lot of that today because I had already done that in a previous version of this podcast. But if you want to check out all the resources, this newsletter is jam-packed. Again, it is from the February 12th newsletter in season 4, and you can check it out on my website. All of these resources that you see here, they are all links to PDFs or images to walk you through the toolbar or the interface for the Lumio Smart Online Learning Suite or Smart Notebook. Now we're back to the main newsletter. So you could kind of call those other newsletters a little bit of a tech refresh. But what I want to stress this week in the newsletter is with Lumio, the possibilities are endless. So if you work with other technology in your district where you are pushing out presentations to students and you are controlling the pace at which they go, Lumio is very similar to that. And so you can have it just be a static slide, but you can also have it be a handout to the students where they are actually contributing or filling out one of the resources. What you want to first do is start creating your lesson. And you can start with existing content. So if you have slides already that you want to push into Lumio, it will download those PowerPoint presentations, those Google Slides, PDFs, any of those files you can dump right in, and they will dump them in as individual slides that you can then, if you want, just leave as a static slide or again, create content as a handout to the students. You can also include YouTube videos or start building your slideshow from a blank page. Next, to enhance the lesson a little bit, you can add audio instruction, and I covered that in my last newsletter on the 12th of February last year. You can also add some game-based activities through the game lab there, and there are some ready-made resources that you can find. And I will show you some of those new ready-made resources because there has been some huge updates to Lumio in the past year. So we wanted you to enhance your lesson. Now we want to engage the lesson. So again, I mentioned the individual handouts. You can take your slides or your PDFs and create individual handouts for students, or you can create the collaborative space. So the student doesn't get an individual handout. Students are going to contribute to one space all together at the same time. To deliver the lesson, you just simply give the students your class code and they join the class code. They can sign in with their Google credentials or Microsoft credentials, whichever your school might use. If you are an administrator in your district, you will have to turn that stuff on the back end in the admin console, but it is very easy to do. And then finally, once you're ready to go, share the link. You can have it be student paste, teacher paste, share a copy, keep the teacher copy. There are many different ways for you to work through your Lumio lesson. The Techie Teacher had a blog post back in November with the 5 benefits of using Lumio in the classroom. Her 5 benefits were Lumio allows for a wide variety of integrations on other platforms, and it absolutely does. The infinite cloner tool for students to drag and drop items from a pile is one of the greatest tools you have, and now that it's available in Lumio is magnificent. Before it was only available in the Smart Notebook software, and it was kind of a little frustrating, but now that it's on Lumio, that infinite cloner tool is amazing. The unique ability to provide authentic collaboration experiences as well as easily provide group work opportunities for students is great. Being able to take those worksheets and create collaborative resources or individual resources for students can be invaluable. Fourth, teachers can record directions seamlessly into each activity so students know exactly what to do and can play the directions at their own pace. So I mentioned adding some audio instruction, and I will show you exactly where that is in my example here in just a minute. And finally, Lumio has made it extremely easy for teachers to find and assign activities without having to create anything themselves. So I talked about Smart Exchange. There are also resources within the dashboard of the Lumio website where you can find resources. There is a link to Julie Smith's The Techie Teacher blog post if you want to go through and read even more about Lumio and how she specifically talks about adding and utilizing these 5 techniques. You can go through here and see some examples that she's provided. Again, thetechieteacher.net is the website, and her name is Julie Smith. I have a link in the newsletter. In the newsletter here, this is the link to, if I didn't mention before, to the Techie Teacher Julie Smith's blog post. Richard Byrne down here has a blog post as well called Connect with Your Class. His is from around the same time that the Techie Teacher posted hers, but his is about connecting with your class. And so he walks through some of the initial things, explaining Lumio, how to create your first assessment activity. He has a little demonstration on here. Different activity types, he talks about those. how to find, edit, and use your lessons, and then talking about virtual manipulatives, graphic organizers, and more. So you can read this blog post if you want to dig into that a little bit more, along with a lot of the resources that I have already provided in some of my past newsletters. If you want information about Lumio directly from Smart Tech, you can click on this link called Features, How Does It Work? And it will take you to the Lumio website. And then this will show you exactly how everything works. They have little demonstration videos about your content and some ready-made resources. So we've got here how you can incorporate your resources. I mentioned the PowerPoint, the PDFs, the Google Slides, the different ready-made activities, which I'll show you here in just a moment, how to liven up your lessons with ad-free YouTube videos. Down here are the transformation through the different Smart Lab activities, how to convert static content into your dynamic content with your student handouts or your collaborative workspaces, and then the different graphic organizers and manipulatives that are available. So go ahead and check out that how it works. They also give you some ideas about how to create games in under 5 minutes, quizzes and polls, digital handouts, recording audio instructions, and more. I also try to list how it works in the newsletter right on the side, so you can combine items from multiple resources like PDFs, PowerPoints, and Google Slides, choose the ready-made resources and pre-made lessons, add free YouTube videos. We've got the creating things in under 5 minutes, convert static content, discover ready-made resources, check for understanding in real time, record audio, move between the teacher-led and the student-paced lesson, create lessons for asynchronous learning. So in this time that we are living now, where schools are both in-person and switching back and forth quickly between an in-person and at-home learning, or maybe you have students in both situations, you can easily teach to both students using the Lumio platform. There are a variety of formative assessments, both individual and group workspace dashboards, and you can ink directly into lessons to add notes and provide feedback in person and remotely. So the digital whiteboard piece of the Lumio can also be an invaluable part of the software. If you're a visual learner, like I know a lot of teachers are here, and you need to have your directions kind of written out for you, you probably want to click on the teacher guide, and it will take you to their walkthrough tutorials for how to work with Lumio. When you click on it, it'll take you to this Lumio by Smart Teacher guide, and you can see on the side are the different guides, tips on using the guide, but here import a file and add some interactivity. If you click on it, it takes you right to another file that will give you detailed description and written directions on how to insert that file online. And it will also give you some instructional ideas. This piece is great because it really takes screenshots of everything that you need to click on, and also gives you written directions on how to do it. So if you have trouble watching YouTube videos and having to pause and go back and forth, you can have this. There's also a video in the top right-hand corner that you can play, or you can print this out and have it on your desk, or as part of a larger binder that you can go through to access this information when you need it again. And as you can see, there are a lot of different resources in this guide to help you so you don't feel so overwhelmed. And again, if you take it little by little, maybe one day you just create a game-based activity. You're not creating a whole lesson. You just come right to this link here and look at the game-based activity, create that, and then the next day maybe you add a slide and create a game-based activity, or the next week. But just go at your own pace. Go through all of these different resources here in the guide to help you use Lumio to the best of your ability. This link down here at the Teacher Toolbox will give you 3 tips for designing lessons using Lumio, and it takes you right to the Smart Tech blog. So here are the 3 tips for designing student-paced lessons with Lumio as you go through inserting self-paced activities that are designed for student practice, and I'll talk about these here in a moment. Adding a digital manipulative page and convert that page to a handout activity. And then finally, convert PDFs and other existing resources to handout activities for students. And I've mentioned this already 2 or 3 times, I think, in this podcast. So you know that these are definitely pieces to Lumio that are very impactful for students. The link at the bottom of the page is Lumio training sessions with video and written directions. So I showed you the teacher guide earlier. This one has also similar information, but it's designed a little bit differently. So you can see this is their professional development site. So as you go through here, you can look at, when I mentioned before about how to start, how to engage, that is what we're talking about specifically in these videos. So to start, combine existing resources. So if you want to learn and watch on how to add PDFs, PowerPoints, Google Slides, this is a great place to start with that. You want to know how to insert a YouTube video, you can start here. Again, click on the link to learn how, or watch the video. Just a different layout for your professional development. And when I talk about the professional development, at the top I have Start, Enhance, Engage. These are all the videos and written directions that are available to help you get started with Lumio. This is the Lumio Dashboard. I logged in with Google. That's how I have mine set up. Again, at the top is your class ID. So that is what you would give to your students when they go to hellosmart.com. You put in the name of your class, Mr. Reynolds. Right here, I talked about Explore Resources earlier. If you click on that, it takes you out to this area, and these are all the different resources that you can use to pull into your Lumio lessons and use with your students. You can go ahead up here and search for resources. You can search by grade. You can search by subject, choose multiple subjects. And when you find something that you like, let's just choose States of Matter. Down here, I can easily click this Save to My Library, and it goes right to the dashboard of my Lumio. If I want to get some training resources, I have the little training button on the side. I click the training resources, and it takes me to this professional development site that I already showed you. Quick and easy way for you to link to the professional development for Lumio. Let's start talking about some of the new activities that are available in Lumio. If you click on Add Activities, it takes you to this little Add Content space. Some of the new activities that are available are Desmos. We have the PhET Interactive Simulations, and I'll talk about each of these individually. We have Manipulatives, Graphic Organizers, but I want to start with New Page. So if you click on New Page, what they have developed now is instead of just a blank page, they have all of these different templates available for you to download. And when you find something that you like, let's say I want to use the one with these monsters, I can go through here and I can choose exactly which ones I want to use. So maybe I want this header, I want to continue with that theme, so I want the same content page for him, and then he's going to have some blurb. I'm going to add another content page, and then I have some other 2-column, 3-column pages or blank pages. When I'm done, I just click Add, and it will generate this Lumio lesson for me using this gradient monster template and the 6 pages that I decided to import in. If I want to add more pages to my lesson, I go down to the bottom left-hand corner, click the plus, and then it brings me back to this Add Content page. So I can go back in here to New Page, I can go back to this same content that I had before, and I can add one more page, or I can add multiple pages depending on what I need. As I'm editing the lesson, I have over here, I mentioned before that you can add audio, so you can have the audio directions. So up over here where the person is kind of talking, this is where I have my audio recording, and I can record 5 minutes per page. And in one of my previous newsletters where I talked all about Lumio back last year in February, I have a little demonstration about how this works. Other things you can do with your lesson, you can add text boxes, you can insert images, and when you insert images, you can upload your own images from your computer, you can find them from a web link, or you can search Bing online images to pull into your lesson. The other icon that you see here, this magic wand, this is what creates handout activities. So you can create an individual handout activity for students, or you can make this page a workspace. Once you are all done creating your lesson, you click Finish Editing, and it is automatically saved to your dashboard. When you're ready to present, you just click Start, and it will generate the lesson here for you, and then you can start to see if you get any students that are connected to your lesson. And on the fly, I can decide, do I want this to be an individual handout activity or collaborative activity, and it's right there for me to choose. When I'm done with a lesson, I go up to the little hamburger here at the top, and I choose End Lesson, and the lesson ends for all students in the class. Let's continue looking at some other resources. If I go here to Add Content, and I go to Desmos, if you don't know what Desmos is, I pulled up their website. They are on a mission to help every student learn math and love learning math. You can go to desmos.com, find all of their information, create an account for yourself. There are all kinds of different tools and resources available to make math interactive and have creative activities. They also have some math curriculum for students in grades 6 through 8 available now. Algebra 1 will be available for the 2022-23 school year. If you are looking for some written directions about Desmos, again, that teacher guide page has all of the information that you need and how to help you visualize math concepts with Desmos. It also provides you with some instructional ideas and gives you a walkthrough about how to add that to your lesson. To add a Desmos activity to your lesson, you just simply click the button, and then you can add your content. Down here in the bottom left corner is the keyboard, so you have the different math functions available with all of your numbers. and then some other keys for going forward and backward or deleting over on the side. And you can add multiple forms of expression, tables, images into this Desmos activity. And so if you are using creating lessons for math and science, you definitely probably want to check out this Desmos activity and add this content to your lesson. Another new item for Smart Notebook is the Physics Education Technology Interactive Simulations. If you want to check out their website, you can certainly do that. Head to phet.colorado.edu. And what this is interactive simulations brought to you by Colorado Boulder. And it's an open educational resource that creates and hosts explorable explanations in game-like environments in both math and science. So you can go through here, see some of the simulations, look at tips for using the software, browse some of their activities. This is now available for you right in Lumio. In their Add Content dashboard, you click on the link, and then you can go through here. You can do a search at the top if you want. You can filter your results down by grades, by subjects, by different locations if you want to do that. When you find something that you want to use, so let's say the balancing act, I want this activity, I can see it, so I can kind of work through the activity and see if it's really going to work for what I'm going to have my students do. And then if it is something that I want, I can simply save this to my lesson. A huge game changer for helping build explorable explanations in game-like environments for students. And so again, a great math and science resource activity for students. This also has in the teacher guide resources for instructional ideas, and that's the great thing about the teacher guide, all of the different instructional ideas that are available for teachers. So if you're like, this is great, but I'm not 100% sure how I would use it in my lessons and with my students, again, just come to the teacher guide, come down to this little part here for the simulations, look at some of the instructional ideas, and then again, on the left-hand side are the steps to adding these simulations to your lesson in Lumio. Let's look at two more different activities that are available in your Lumio dashboard. So I mentioned the game-based activities. Again, 12 templates. Here are the different game-based activities. One of the newer ones here is this word search. So maybe if you want students to a little extra practice with their spelling words, you can add word search as one of the options. But again, 12 different activities that you have available in your game-based Smart Lab. Okay, the two that I really want to talk about, one are manipulatives. So you can see the different manipulatives that are available for students. So you have base 10 blocks, the calendar, different coins, half dollars, euros, fraction tiles, hundreds charts, geared clocks, making words, math expressions, musical notes, math expressions 2, a number line, pattern blocks, and sorting shapes. So you can create this and make it a student handout. So for example, let's go to making words. So I have this activity for students on, I just did a quick little making words manipulative. I want to make this an individual handout activity. What I've done is I've joined my class as a student, and now I have made this tile here a handout for students. So over on the right hand side is the handout, and it's the student working in real time. So as I grab the letters and I start to move them, what I've done on the left hand side is I have brought up the student. So you can see all of the students in your dashboard, and you can visit their handout in real time. So you can see here this student is moving their W and their S, and all of this is happening in real time. If I want to go and see another student, I just minimize this student's name, and now I can visit another student that might be in my dashboard. So this is a great way for you to create digital manipulatives for students and see exactly what they're doing in real time. The great thing that I thought about with this is if you need students to be working, maybe you're doing a spelling test, you can push this out, and then students can easily just reset their page. If they click on the toolbar on the left-hand side, this little button here will reset everything on their page and get rid of all of their letters and clear everything out. So you can have students type their word out right here, maybe as a pretest, and you've got everything, and then they can just reset. Same with if you're working with math manipulatives. They can move things, fraction tiles into the space, they can counting blocks or money, and then just reset the page and bring everything back to the bottom. The last thing that I want to show you are the graphic organizers. So if you click on the graphic organizers, you can see all of the different organizers that they have. The brainstorming web, cause and effect, content mapping, Cornell note taking, Freyer model, notes 2 columns, notes 3 columns, reading response, sequence chart, scientific method, story map, T-chart, and a second T-chart, 6 boxes, 2 columns, 4 columns, 3 columns, table with definitions, a thinking frame, a grid, and a Venn diagram. And again, all you have to do is click on, let's click on Venn diagram, It sets up my lesson. I can add more slides to this if I want to. But when I'm done, I just finish editing my lesson, I start my activity, and then when the student joins, they are going to get this same activity. So I'm going to click on student. I'm going to create an individual handout activity for students. So we can do this as a group if we want. I can have it up on the board. I'm going to connect as a student here. As a student, I just click start to start the handout. The student will populate on the teacher side of things. And now as a group, we can start to fill this out together. So you really don't have to make copies of the Venn diagram. You can just make a slide, push this out to your students, have them join your Lumio class, and then you can work on it as a group. You can also make it a collaborative space, so if you wanted students to all work together in this space to create the Venn diagram, you could do that. It doesn't have to be an individual handout. So if I go back to my dashboard here, if I want to make this a collaborative workspace, I have to back out and I have to edit this lesson, and then I have to add a new slide here, edit the activity. I want to cancel this. I want to add a new slide down here at the bottom, and let's add another graphic organizer, Venn diagram, and then this one here, I can make a workspace activity. I don't need to preview. I'm going to finish editing, and I'm automatically back into my lesson. I didn't have to stop it. It just paused for the student. So if I go back and look as the student, it's right here. I just click setup. It asks me how many teams. Everybody's going to be on one team. I don't need more than, we're just going to do this all as a group. And then the students can start to participate in this activity by filling out the Venn diagram. They click on the little ellipsis. They can add images. They can add text. They can use the pen tool and write on here if they want to. And again, it all shows up in real time. One last thing I will demonstrate. If you want to add an activity and you have some other resources, so up here at the top, importing your resources, you click on that. You can do local storage or my library. I'm just going to do a local storage. I'm going to grab this PowerPoint presentation that I've been working on through Keynote, and it's going to work through the process and import all the pages. When it imports the pages, it's going to ask me exactly which pages I want to add to my lesson. It's pulled the PowerPoint in. Now the PowerPoint's going to take a little bit longer than if you were to pull in a PDF. I'm going to unselect all, and I'm just going to select 2 of the pages here and drop these into Smart Notebook because it'll be a lot quicker. I click the 2 that I want. I drop these in and add them as a file. And now they are added into my lesson. They are locked as an image. If I want to unlock them, I can certainly unlock. And then this is one whole object image. And it doesn't matter if you're bringing this in as a PDF or a PowerPoint, it brings it in the exact same way. But then from here, again, you can add your audio directions, you can create a handout, you can add text, add an image, but very simple for you if you already have some pre-made lessons and presentations, just to drop them into Lumio to get started. So many great resources this week in the newsletter. I mean, I don't even know where to tell you to start. I would say start small. Just have some of your lessons, pull those in through Google Slides or PowerPoint or a PDF, and just drop them in. It's easy to make them quick handouts if you don't have any sort of annotation software that your district has to write. But if you already have a Smart Notebook license, the Lumio stuff is free. So it comes with it. You just have to log on with your Google account. I encourage you, if you really want to get involved, join the Smart Ambassador program. You'll get updates and webinars about any of the new products that are coming out. It's a great place to send out information and ask other users around the world how to incorporate Smart Notebook or in your field and your area, how they're using Smart Notebook, or maybe you're having some trouble with some things or looking for some resources. Ask them. It's a great place to point all that out. This is what it looks like, the Smart Ambassador program. Just fill out the form, click on the link in the newsletter, and you can get yourself signed up. And there are so many educators that are here, but you can see all the different stuff that's available. What's new? There's a product corner, rewards and benefits that you get as you start to work more through the program and working with different educators on the platform. It's a really great collaborative space to help you build your personal learning network. That's going to do it for the newsletter this week. Again, a lot of resources. Just take it slow, try and digest. If you want to go back and review some of the other episodes and other resources that I have in some of my old newsletters with Smart Lab or with Lumio, Smart Exchange, 12 Days of Smart, I definitely encourage you to check out some of my older newsletters going all the way back to Season 2. That's it for this episode of the Ed Newsstand Podcast. I really appreciate you listening to the podcast or watching the video version on YouTube because I know your time is valuable. Please check out the resources in this week's newsletter about Lumio from creators Julie Smith aka the Techie Teacher, Richard Byrne, Louise Haynes, and of course, Smart Tech. For more EdTech resources, you can follow me on social media. You can find me on Twitter at ReynoldsTroy and on Instagram and TikTok at EdNewsstand. If you're listening on any podcast platform and would like to hear more, please like and subscribe to receive updates and have any new episode automatically downloaded for you. You can also revisit my previous episodes on any major podcasting platform like Spotify, Anchor.fm, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or Google Podcasts. You can also check out the video version of my podcast over on my YouTube channel and check out any of the other video resources I have available. If you'd like to download my app to have my podcast and newsletters right on your smart device, please check it out at ednewsstand.glideapp.io and save it to your home screen. If you don't want the app but would like to check out my resources, please visit my website at ednewsstand.weebly.com. This is Troy Reynolds, and this is the Ed Newsstand Podcast, hoping you were able to take away at least one idea for your classroom. Please be safe. Until next time.